What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today we're going to talk about Didi. Uh, this is this is a little indie film that has caught a little bit of attention. It's got some fans this year, um, and it's now available on Peacock with audio description, so you can check it out on the cock with audio description. I've got a purple hat on backwards, black sunglasses, and I'm wearing Guardians of the Galaxy t-shirt today. So I don't know that any of that has anything to do with anything in Didi. But um, what is this movie about? Well, it's about a young Asian boy growing up in 2008. The end. um, yeah. Basically, I mean, like that's the elevator pitch. And people are like, well, what is that? What makes that special? And it's like the journey, um, the angle, the voice of the director, um, you know, the things that you appreciate along the way, the little things. There were things that I obviously, first of all, I was not his age in 2008. I was an adult in 2008. So this is not something where I looked back in 2008 and I was like, wow, I remember doing exactly this thing. But some of the stuff that he does is not really that far removed from stuff that other people did. And like skater culture did not start in 2008 and it definitely existed before that. So the fact that he's really into skater life and that they take the camera out and they film these skateboard stunts, I'm like, well, that didn't start, you know, into that was way before that. Even filming yourself doing stunts was way before. Jackass was a TV series before this, you know. So he's sort of late on the curve, if anything else. AOL Instant Messenger in 2008. I was like, were I still using that in 2008? I actually kind of felt bad. I was like, dude, I was using that in the 90s. Um, but he messages this bot program at one time, and I was like, there was something like that. It's not the same name, but there was like a bot that you could message on AOL, and it was fun to talk to. It was like the early foundings of AI. And it gave you sort of like a series of responses. Um, but so when he did it in this thing, when he tries to have a conversation with the bot, because he doesn't have anybody else to talk to, uh, I was like, oh yeah, I did that. I mean, like not to have like a deep talk with it, but there was something that you could message on AOL that was like that responded to you. So that was fun. Little blast from the past on that thing. Our main character, is somebody who does not like for people to know that he's as Asian as he is, and he likes trying to say he's half Asian because his dad's not around. So it's really easy for him to just pretend that his dad is like white. So that so a lot of times he refers to himself as half Asian. I only bring it up because it becomes like a thing later on in the movie. It's like I said, this film doesn't really have a plot. He has friends and he flirts with this girl over AOL Instant Messenger, and they kind of meet up. And he's also filming these skater videos. Meanwhile, there's also just sort of like his family life is happening around him. He has a sister. Um, he has a mom played by Joan Chen, who's been getting a lot of awards buzz for this, and a grandmother, Mei Mei, from the documentary Mei Mei and Waipo. She's back. No, obviously, it's just that's culturally the accepted name of calling your grandmother. Probably something like it's the equivalent of like Nana, you know. Um, so, but it did make me giggle a little bit when I heard it because I was like, from Mei Mei and Waipo, is this a sequel? And I was like, oh no, but Maybe Waipo didn't have audio description, so I didn't have a great experience with it because it's not in English, and uh, I did sit down to watch it because it did get an Oscar nomination, but sadly, nobody had the foresight to put audio description on it. This has audio description though, so a lot of the I'm gonna go with I don't know what language they're speaking here. Probably Mandarin. And the reason I say that is if it's not Mandarin, is Taiwanese a language? So the father's in Taiwan. And that's a dumb question, but is Taiwanese a language? I don't know. But because of how Taiwan is connected, or tangentially, we're trying not to connect it to China. We're trying really hard to keep it not connected to China, but historically, it wouldn't surprise me if people uh, spoke Mandarin in Taiwan. So I don't want to just say an Asian language because there's so many of them. So trying to be somewhat specific from the evidence that I've been getting, I think one of those two things is true. So they speak a lot of it at home. Joan Chen's English is not great in this. She can function, but she obviously is more comfortable outside, within her native language. I don't know that that's actually true of her in real life, but that's just her character in the film. And I think probably what I appreciated the most about this film is nowadays we just make films where like teenagers, they're just so culturally acceptable. Like they're just like nobody makes dick jokes anymore, nobody uses offensive language. We just like teenagers, when we make these movies, we're just like, wow, everybody, it's amazing how nobody is like homophobic, nobody makes any racist jokes, nobody, like it's just all of our teenagers, so at some point we started birthing them correctly, and they just, wow, it's amazing. And we try to, like, I don't know, gaslight people into thinking that they all live in this culture where this doesn't do that. These guys, obvious dick jokes. There's definitely a homophobic slur thrown, and jokes made about his race at his expense. There's like horny teenager jokes and comments about where boys, when they get together, always make it feel like that something much greater happened when it didn't really happen. Like, oh, she touched my wang. She didn't really. Anyway, that kind of thing when they talk. They feel more like actual kids. They feel like more like actual teenagers, and like somebody wasn't like worried about like, well, how will people watching this feel? Will they feel like this is, it's like, it's not supposed to feel like everybody is, cultured, that everybody has grown up and is woke up into a socially acceptable mind space. Kids do dumb shit. That is what they do. That is, and this film highlights that perfectly. So if anything, that worked for me more than anything else. I was a little like questioning. I was like, was AOL Instant Messenger in 2008 really enough that this kid's using it? Maybe it was. I don't know. We had phones back then. Like they were texting. Like 2008 had cell phones. So I don't know. But it was still. I can't remember what year that died. There's such a huge focus on AOL Instant Messenger here that it's weird. But I guess I have to talk about Joan Chen. And what I would say to Joan Chen's performance is I don't need it. It's not bad, but it's fine. She has a couple of moments where she lands like a monologue or two, but I'm thinking about like some performances recently that have floated into the realm of this, and they've been like the mother to the adolescent lead, and Oscars don't always go for that. Last year they didn't go for Rachel McAdams in Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, a film that made more money at the box office than Didi. And Rachel was actually she got several precursor nominations. Not a lot, but she did get some. She was on the radar, and she missed out on a nomination for possibly the best performance of her career. She had more to do in that film than Joan Chen does in Didi. So I'm thinking, like, if they weren't willing to nominate her, I don't know. I don't know what they would see about Joan Chen and Didi that would necessarily push her forward. I think there's simplicity to it, but I think the film pulls even further away from her. I don't think when somebody made Didi that they were thinking, we got to get Joan Chen an Oscar nomination. We got to make sure we lift her up. So there wasn't as much focus that was put on her. It's just that people have noticed Joan Chen in here and been like, oh my God, what if? Which is fine. But I think there are going to be a lot of performances from earlier on in the year that just don't end up going anywhere. Tiana Taylor had a lot of love last year for 1001, but that film opened in March. So I question whether or not Didi has any sort of legs to be able to go anywhere for Joan Chen. She'll probably get like an Independent Spirit nomination, and maybe a couple critics groups will mention her. But I don't think it's going to materialize now that I've seen the performance. I would be surprised if it got even to like a Critics' Choice nomination. So that's Didi. It's cute. It's an interesting little film. I'm glad I watched it. It's not necessarily my favorite film of the year, but again, because I kind of wish it had more of a plot. But sometimes these films where it's just like, well, this is kids being kids, I kind of appreciate the fact that these actually felt like kids being kids instead of like you telling us that this is what kids were like. It's like, nah, that's not really what kids were like. So, but this does actually feel like probably what kids were like in 2008. So, that's the plus side. So I'm gonna give Didi. I'm gonna give it an A minus. Doesn't really have like a lot of negatives. It just you just feel like that there probably are a few films this year that are going to be better than it, and some performances that would be a little bit more memorable. But it's just shy of perfect. It's an enjoyable experience. So it's the little film that could. Check it out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the other side.